My friends, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So, as promised, and like I talked about in yesterday's video, so today's video is going to be a much shorter video. I said in my little bit longer kind of weekly outlook yesterday that if you wanted me to start doing like little quick snapshots of setups or trades or good looking charts, to let me know. Enough of you did. And then on Twitter today, which if you haven't done so already, please follow me on Twitter, Colin_Gladman. Because when I make posts like this, I said, yo, I'm about to go do my kickboxing jiu-jitsu workout. 500 likes, we'll do a quick little snapshot of Tesla. And it got there, which is awesome. Thank you so much. I'm always humbled and grateful anytime you guys do that. I know I always, go back and forth with some trolls on Twitter and everything like that, but I promise you, the good ways outweighs the bad. Otherwise, I wouldn't be there anymore. And I always recognize, always try to go through and the kind comments. I always try to give them a like and everything like that. So even if you're the dude who's like, well, dude, I feel like he never comments or likes or anything like that to me, I promise you, I see it. I try to like it. That's one of my little Twitter New Year's resolutions, is to always try to acknowledge some of you awesome people, because there is a lot of you out there, and I know you're quiet sometimes. That's totally cool. So, yesterday, in the Sunday video, I said on Tesla, what I wanted to see was, I wanted to see a gap up over the previous all-time high. Previous all-time high was 1450, and then I wanted to see a pullback to that previous all-time high of 1450, and then see a push up. So we got the gap up, check. We got the pullback to 1450, double check. However, that didn't hold. So now I kind of want you to know a little bit about sort of my plans going forward. So I did enter calls today when Tesla was originally at about 420. And then explain just these little lines that you see on my chart here. I'm going to go ahead and take volume off for a second. So this orange line right here is the 5-day simple moving average. The white line is the daily 9 EMA, and the gray line is the daily 21 EMA. Stocks can be what I call innocent until proven guilty, or guilty until proven innocent. And what I mean by that is, stocks that are innocent until they are proven guilty are ones that are above all their lower time frame EMAs and SMAs. Stocks, and I'm talking about this on a daily basis, not 15-minute hourly or anything like that. Stocks that are below all of these are in the guilty until proven innocent category. So typically, not all the time, but typically the way I like to view stocks is, if you're above all those short-term averages, you're in kind of a buy the dip mode, because you're above all those short-term EMAs on a daily basis. And if you're below those, then it is a short the pops aspect of it, especially when you come, because I mean, you can just see, especially like this daily 5, like when Tesla was moving, how it was just kind of riding that daily 5 the entire time. So the good news about Tesla is, I told my team the only way I was going to hold my calls is if we closed above Friday's close, and we got there. Barely, right? I mean, overall, it was literally a plus 0.15% winning day. But the reason that I bought the dip on Tesla when it started dipping right off the bat today was because, like I said, it was in that innocent until proven guilty, because it gapped above those EMAs. So I originally bought, like I said, right around 420, which was this daily support right across here. Let me kind of highlight it for you. So there was clear and obvious some daily support that was at that 420 area. So my original position taking was at that support resistance flip. Obviously, that didn't hold. So I bought more, which I always do on my positions. I never full port any one position right off the bat. I always anticipate a little bit of red. I mean, most of the time, you'll hear me say this a lot, but I always plan on being wrong 30 to 40% of the time. I only plan on being right somewhere between 60 to 70% of the time. So that way, when I lose money, when I go red, I'm like, yeah, I expected this. I planned this, right? Over the course of a year and over the longevity, of course, I plan on being way more right than I am wrong. That has led me to literally making millions of dollars in the stock market. And once again, I post all that kind of stuff on Twitter as well. I want you to see the gains, so that way, hopefully, like I said, when I saw my coach and the gains that he was making, I was inspired. I wasn't jealous and like, oh, he's some greedy rich guy or anything like that, because he was willing to teach me. Like, if he was some greedy, jealous rich guy, he wouldn't do that. He offered to teach me. And because it inspired me. So like I was inspired when I saw this guy making a ton of money. So I hope that when you see me making a lot of money, it inspires you too. That's certainly my goal for it anyway. I know there's always going to be jealous haters out there, and fuck them. But it is what it is. But onwards we go. Let me get back on topic. This video is already not being as short as I intended it to be. So I originally bought at that support resistance flip. Obviously didn't hold. So then I bought more at the daily 9, and then I bought more at that 415.50 level. After that, I was not willing to buy any more. I almost bought more down here when we got pretty close to 400, but I didn't. So I'm currently sitting down about 25% on these current positions that I'm in right now. But what I wanted to see and what I told my team was I want to see a daily close above Friday's close. Like I said, we got there. It wasn't pretty, but we got there. And the other reason that I didn't take in my final average was just in case we had something where we had a bad close or we had a big gap down back to a key level. I wanted to be able to take my average then, and then of course decide, do I want to cut this or do I want to hold this? My personal opinion as of right now is I would have liked Tesla to have closed over that 414.50. I will be very bullish once we recover that. However, that didn't happen. So like I said, saved some firepower in case I'm wrong, in case we gap down or anything like that. So what I want to see first and foremost is Tesla recovering that 415.50 level. So tomorrow morning, if we open below that, watch any type of push up that test that area. So let's go lower time frame now. So the daily look, like I said, overall doesn't bother me. Now, some people in my Discord were kind of like, well, is it kind of not resembling what happened over here after that nice push on December 24th? And the answer is yes, it resembles it. However, big difference is going to be that this one closed and pushed down. So we closed lower than the Thursday close right here. Excuse me, that would have been Tuesday. Sorry. All over the place with the dates. So this Tuesday close right here, we closed down below. So if we didn't push back up and close above, I probably would have exited my calls because I wouldn't want another day like this to follow it up. But we push back up. Doesn't mean we're not going to have a red day tomorrow, but I do think, like I said, we go to lower time frame. I like this look right here. Let me turn volume back on. So we had this look right here. So this was the post delivery numbers. And then on Friday of this past week, we pushed back up and we closed that gap. That is good. If this delivery gap, like if we would have pushed up in here and then started to push down, I would have told you Tesla was going much lower, probably back down to that 350 to 360 level. If you'll remember, I put out a tweet it's like a week or so ago that if Tesla starts to lose this 414.50 number, that Tesla was going to come back somewhere between that 390 to 360 number. We were holding this 380 level. We held that all day Thursday, so that's why I averaged down on my calls that I had originally bought going into the delivery numbers, and that turned out to be a great trade. Closed it out for like an 80% win on Friday. So you can see that first hour of the day, we came down and we pushed above. So at first I was like, okay, cool. Then we came down, pushed back up when we came down and tested the Friday high. Then we kind of traded sideways here. I really wanted us to just curl up from here, but instead we came down a little bit lower here. You can see the 921 on the hourly starting to provide support and then started to close above. So when I kind of zoom out here, right, we had this nice strong push. As far as I'm concerned, this looks like nothing more than a falling wedge / bull flag look right here that retraced, I believe it was around the 382. Yeah. So retraced about the 382, which is typically what you want to see. On a super strong bull flag, you don't want to see like a super deep retracement. For that bull flag look, you want somewhere around that 30 to 40%, no real more than that. Typically, the 382 is what you target as far as at least taking a stab. Doesn't mean every bull flag is going to bounce at the 382. I can just see my Twitter mentions blowing up the next time a bull flag forms and it doesn't bounce at the 382. If every single bull flag bounced at the 382, we would all be stinking filthy rich. The reality is bull flags All they are is consolidation patterns, right? It is simply the stock consolidating, and I got exactly what I wanted to see: lower and lower volume till we got down here at the bottom, a little bit higher volume hammer look, followed up by this was kind of a tweezer look. So golly, I'm getting way into the weeds here. Apologies. So a tweezer look is you kind of come down and you kind of make two equal lows and start to push up off of that. And anytime I kind of want to check my bias, I always go over to TSLQ, which is the bear version of it. And if you'll see, spoiler alert, already got it drawn out. But on the 15-minute chart, I was drawing this rising wedge. You started to break down, you came back up, retested the highs, rejected, and then last 15 minutes of the day, a very strong rejection. So overall, if I was targeting a downside move off this entire kind of rising wedge look, which would be obviously bull flag on Tesla, I'm targeting somewhere around anywhere between that 21 to 19, and I think that could happen relatively quickly over the next couple of days. So what does that mean for Tesla? Well, let's go back over here. And I always do that just to kind of check my bias, right? So when I was in Tesla calls, you can see I already had this drawn over here. I was like, okay, I'm watching this ascending triangle. If this ascending triangle starts to break out to the top side, I am going to cut my calls. Luckily, invalidated, and we printed. But always check your bias. Always be willing to accept defeat. Always be willing to be like, I am wrong. It's okay. So now we get back over here to Tesla, right? And you can also argue, you kind of got this little inverse head and shoulder look. So just a lot of bullish confluences here. It's not put on the blind, bullish, I just buy whatever. No, you still got to buy at the right times. I don't care if it is your favorite stock like Tesla is mine. So I love trading it. I love the company. I love it. It doesn't have to be your stock. That's fine. Ask me if I care. So what I would like to see here is I would like to see a minimum of tomorrow about that 618 retrace, somewhere pushing back up towards around that 436. There's lots of potential areas for resistance along the way. The biggest one is going to be this little bitty bear gap down right here. So we had this gap down going in from Friday to Monday. Quick little lesson on gaps. Lots of people are going to be like, oh, well, look, it wicked up into the gap. That means the gap is closed. No, it's not. This gap, I'll put a line up here so you can see exactly, is not closed until that price action comes all the way back up. So this candle's opening price, this candle's opening price was 429.18. This candle's high was 427.93. So there's like a 30-cent gap up in here, and it didn't fill again today. So I would like to see that gap fill. And if you'll notice, that is also going to be where not only our 0.5 extension is, but also too, we have a confluence of our falling resistance line from up here at the top where we rejected, came back up, rejected again. So that 430 level, I anticipate some type of rejection. So like if you're already in calls or anything like that, and you did a real nice, you timed the bottom like everybody else on Twitter always does. If you push up here, you start getting some rejections, then I would just be cautious. I told my team right off the rip that if going into Monday, if we pushed right up to 430 right off the bat, that I was probably going to sell some calls for like around 450 later on in the week, because we also have another gap up here around 450. So I'd be surprised if we close over that, but I will be happily proven wrong on this deal. So this right now, this is the short-term look this is exactly what you want to see. That low volume consolidation, volume getting sucked out even as it's getting pulled down, and then that high volume breakout of the downtrend. So what we want to see going into tomorrow morning, the first, like let's say we gap down, if you push up and reject, you're coming down further. At that point in time, I would say you're coming down to below 400, I would think. I would think somewhere between 396, maybe even that 387. This top, once again, this is why I use all my fibs all the time. I love the confluence that we have right here, right around that 390. That was going to be the tops of sort of this little cup and handle look that we had down here before we pushed up. I always recommend, not always, but especially when you get in the lower time frames, have less on your charts, less noise, less EMAs, everything like that. Pay attention to those EMAs, SMAs when you're looking a little bit more macro time frame. Too much is just too much. So what I want to see is I want to see this validate. I want to see us push up. The first line of defense for bears is going to be that previous all-time high. If you get rejected, and especially if you start to make a new low, so rejection wouldn't be surprising to me. What I don't want to see is I don't want to start seeing new lows below the lows that we saw today. So the strongest thing is going to be a gap up above and you start running towards that 430 right off the rip. The next strongest thing is going to be you open below, but you break through, then you test, and then you go. The worst thing is going to be something that pushes up, rejects here, then you come down, and then you start to go. And I'm sorry, that would just be the least bullish action. The worst thing is we reject and we start making new lows. So I hope this video kind of gives you a little bit of a plan of attack for what to expect tomorrow on Tesla. I never speak in certainties. I always speak in probabilities. But the probability, in my opinion, is very high that this thing is pushing higher and not lower. Especially if we start to make new lows. I would just be surprised. Now remember, earnings is sometime in January. Let me back out here. But I would be surprised if we don't take care of some of those Wednesday, January the 29th is what it looks like. I think Trading View moved that. I thought it was before that, or maybe Tesla moved it. Either way, I don't care right now for this video. So what we want to see, I personally view this move, the lower volume, I view it as an overall pause in the new trend of moving topside. I will get really bullish on Tesla once we take out the 618 of this entire range. So that is going to be right around here at this 440 or so. We start making a good solid push. So I mean, this is why these fibs are so important, and get good with them, guys. Like, look, literally rejected off the 0.5 today of this move. So we want to take out that 618, which is going to be over that 440. I think that's still a very within reasonable target for this week for Tesla to close above. It closes above 440. I think that's going to be an overall very good look for Tesla. Hope this video was helpful to you. Last but not least, adding on to what I talked about in yesterday's video of goal setting, I had my first really hard workout of the new year just now up at my gym doing some kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, and it was fantastic. It was insanely hard, but it was fantastic. Like, my voice is gone, my arms are done, but it was so awesome, guys. When you put yourself in tough situations, everything about life becomes easier. Notice I didn't say easy. Nothing about life is easy. We all know that. But it does become easier. But you have to voluntarily put yourself in those situations. If the hardest situation you ever voluntarily put yourself in is debating what show you're going to watch next on Netflix, because the reality is life is going to put you in tough situations at times, whether it's with family, job, coworker, boss, friend, doesn't matter. Life is going to throw us really tough situations at times. And if the hardest thing you ever choose to do with your life is decide what you're going to watch on Netflix, don't be surprised when life really kicks your ass in those moments. But when you choose to put yourself, and you don't got to go do kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, I highly recommend it. I love it. But when you put yourself in those really tough situations, what it does is when you go, I volunteer to put myself, like for instance tonight, I was training with, we got one partner up there, he's 6'4", 250, strong as an ox, and when that dude's punching and kicking at me, I don't care at all what some Twitter troll might say to me or anything along those lines, right? So it's like when some Twitter troll is like, that was a stupid trade, you're retarded, I'm like okay, like I literally laugh it off because I voluntarily put myself in really tough situations. So I cannot recommend enough to voluntarily put yourself in tough situations with hard workouts. And your mind and your heart and your future is just so clear at that point in time. When you do that, you will feel inspired, you will feel driven, and you guys who have been with me for any amount of time know that I always talk about time is the most important thing that you have. So don't waste any of it going. The most stressful thing I do is deciding what I want to watch on Netflix. I ain't hating on Netflix. I usually watch a little every single night as I'm going to bed, but that needs to be the last thing that you do. The tough stuff, the tough trades, the tough workouts, the tough conversations, all that kind of stuff that you know you need to have anyway, that's what needs to be done before you get to the relaxation part of it. So really set yourself some big goals. And those big goals, make sure you've got some checkpoints in place. Like, for instance, I have no problem telling you guys, you know the deal. My big goal this year is I'm going to try to make $1 million through wheel trading alone, and I'm going to do it on about $1.3 million. That's my goal. And to basically almost do, 100% in wheel trading, that is going to be insanely tough. But that's what your goals should be. The goal should be tough. If you can coast your way to a goal, if you're out there, on Twitter going, oh, I'm going to, lose 5 pounds over the course of the year. I mean, you can coast your way there. Nobody cares. Your goals should scare you. They shouldn't be impossible, but they should be very difficult. So have yourself some checkpoints on the way. Because if you're like, oh, I want to lose 50 pounds this year, and come October, you're like, I only have 56 left to go. You lie to yourself with that trap of I've got time. Just like you lie to yourself with option trades when you go, I've got time. I don't need to do this. I closed Tesla 500 calls back over here because it broke. I was getting a daily close below the level that I wanted to. And it would have been easy to talk myself into, well, I've got time. Well, now I can still buy those calls for cheaper than where I closed them out at. So yes, it's always good to buy time, but don't use that as a crutch, or you lie to yourself or to anybody else that, well, I've got time. Because the reality is we never know exactly how much time we have. So this video was way longer than I anticipated it being. I'm very sorry about that, but I hope you found some valuable information here. Much love. Please like and subscribe, all that other kind of crap. And I'll see you when I make the next video. Much love, my friends.